Hello, everybody. Welcome to Townsend 505. Welcome back to Fleetwood Viewer. My name is Nick. Today, it's episode 12 of the Fleetwood Mac series that me, Scott, and Bryer have started. Joining me again for the rest of the series, like I said, is Jason. How are all of you guys doing tonight?
Pretty well.
Doing good.
Doing great.
That's good to hear. We're covering their legendary album, Rumours. I'm doing just fantastic. I'm not wearing my jersey today because we're reviewing the album that my shirt is. So
Yeah.
I have the highlights on right now of the game. Just really proud of my team right now. Just outstanding. But we're talking about the Fleetwood Mac right now. But Bryer, give us your history lesson because you have a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We got a lot here.
Oh, yeah. There's some interesting things going on here.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years since the last album, and yes, a lot has happened since then.
Yeah.
All right, so of course, we all know the last album did really well, got tons of hits, and so now they're getting ready to do a follow-up. That's when things started to fall apart, because probably the first thing was, of course, you have. I mean, it's been well documented, the drama that went behind the scenes of this album. And so, first off, you have Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. They were together when they joined, and now around this time, they broke up. I believe it was Stevie that broke up with Lindsey, if I remember correctly. And so that was causing some tension. And not only that, you have John McVie and Christine McVie. They decided to divorce because they're kind of having marital problems as well. So they were married for 8 years, and so they decided to break it off. And on top of that, Mick Fleetwood, who, if you'd remember, he was married to his wife, but then Bob Weston messed it up by getting with his wife, and so there was that whole thing. I think Mick was still going through that divorce, and so there was a lot of emotional turmoil at this point. And there was not only that, there was another thing that was creeping in, and that, of course, it's everyone's favorite topic when it comes to rock stars: drugs. And lots of cocaine.
Lots of drugs.
Yes. And of course, they're in LA, and so it's a way more available than it was in England. So
yeah, you're over there, right, Bryer?
I know.
You know all about the drugs.
Oh, totally. I've seen them.
He's just legally not allowed to say anything.
Yeah. I don't want to get in trouble here.
Those California hippies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just say
California hippies.
Let's just say I don't use drugs.
Yeah. I don't use them. Okay. Okay. So, but then, funny enough, it was also around this time there were a bunch of rumors going around the band. The first one was, again, it took them 2 years to get the next album, and so there were rumors going around that maybe Christine was ill with something. And another rumor that started to spread around because this was approaching the 10-year anniversary of the band. And so there were rumors going around that there was going to be like a reunion with Peter Green, Danny Kerwin. Heck, even Jeremy Spencer was even brought up a couple times. But of course, none of them were true at all. They didn't really do that. But yeah, there was that. And they also decided to get a new producer because they were happy with the last producer, but they were kind of like, let's try for something else because they felt like he didn't really focus on the rhythm section too much. And so they got a new producer. Actually, there's two producers involved in this. You have Ken Kalint and Richard Dash. I can't pronounce his last name, but it starts with a D. But they were brought on to help produce, and of course the band were involved in the production as well, as they typically were. And this is kind of when Lindsey was starting to take a bit more of a leadership role here. He's starting to be more dominant here. And while still dealing with all the emotional turmoil, because they were still together, they were still in the band, but again, it's all the drama surrounding that. They were all living separately, like all the women were living together and all the men were living together, just kind of staying separate. And so when they actually did come in together in the studio, they just kept it professional. They just were like, okay, let's just get this done, and let's hope no one throws fists. And so yeah, but surprisingly after all that, they still were able to record this album here. And by the time they were finished recording, they all kind of knew they had something special here. And so by February 4th, 1977, they released this album. And to say this album did well is pretty much an understatement. Because it did pretty good. It sold millions of records on its first week. It got to number 1 in both the US and the UK. It was both critically successful, commercially successful, many hit songs. This even would go on to win Album of the Year on the Grammys in 78, I believe. And today it's still like one of the most best-selling albums of all time. I think it's somewhere around 40 million copies sold. So it's a landmark album, not just for the band, but pretty much of the 70s. This is like one of those albums when you think of 70s music, this album is like one of the ones people talk about. And for good reasons. Of course, it has a very legendary status. I mean, the album cover is pretty memorable as well. You have Mick Fleetwood and Stevie Nicks, and I've said this before, it's probably the most ballsiest album cover ever.
Weird, yeah. What's going on there?
Yeah. Again, they still weren't known for great
more than Sticky Fingers.
Yeah, they're actually visible on that album. On this album.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know which one's better though. But besides that. But yeah, it's a classic album, and we're pretty much all going to say a lot of good things here. So there you go. That's my history lesson of Rumours.
And Fleetwood Mac's wife was sisters to George Harrison's wife, I believe.
Yes, that's true. Jenny,
which is a crazy trivia. I thought, I was like, what?
Yeah,
crazy.
What's everyone's brief thoughts on the album before we start reviewing it?
I had only listened to Fleetwood Mac through my mom's greatest hits CD because she used to always talk about how she worked at this store, and every night they would clean up by playing the Fleetwood Mac greatest hits CD, so she got that. And we never listened to the full thing, so I only remember the first 2 or 3 songs. It was mainly Rhiannon, Don't Stop and Go Your Own Way were the ones that I could remember, and lots of them were on this album, the ones that I knew. So when I was first getting into collecting records, I was looking through what albums I might want to get, and I saw this album. It was very scratched up at an antique store, so I didn't get it, but I looked at the back and I saw, oh, there's Don't Stop, there's Go Your Own Way, there's You Make Loving Fun. I recognized those 3 songs from this greatest hits album, and so I thought, well, that must be a really good album. Let me listen to it. I listened to it on streaming, and it was like, wow, this is amazing. I need to get this record. And eventually I did. Found this at a used bookstore for like $20, I think, and very happy to find this. For the longest time, it was the only Fleetwood Mac full album that I'd listened to till I listened to the self-titled one, I think in like 2022, so a long time later. And then again, I had listened to that once for even longer, and so I finally was like, hey, it's time to get into Fleetwood Mac, so I listened to the rest of their albums last year. So Fleetwood Mac's full discography is kind of a more newer thing for me, but it's no mystery to me that this is my favorite Fleetwood Mac album still, even though it's the first one I heard. It's just is one of those records that really kind of has a big place in my history of music appreciation. It was one of the first albums I wanted to get. One of the first full studio albums I listened to that wasn't a greatest hits. So very important, and the album itself is amazing.
Yeah, growing up, I've always heard about this album. I heard about Fleetwood Mac. I've heard songs on the radio, so I was kind of somewhat aware of Fleetwood Mac, but I wasn't really big in Fleetwood Mac growing up at all. And I knew Rumours. I knew everybody talked about Rumours. That's the only album I knew about Fleetwood Mac, because I knew they had this album called Rumours. and it was one of the biggest albums of all time. It's like in every single top 10 list you ever see. To this day, if you look at a top 10 list, it's going to have this album in there. It's just undeniably one of the biggest albums of all time, not just sell-wise, but critically and all that. It's beloved and all that. But I never really felt like I needed to listen to it growing up. And, I think it's because my parents didn't listen to Fleetwood Mac. I've never heard anybody in my family talk about Fleetwood Mac or listening to them or any of my friends, just Fleetwood Mac wasn't one of those bands I was really, into that much. I just knew about them kind of, and I didn't, I knew who Stevie Nicks was. That's maybe the only person I knew because I remember seeing her singing on stage or something like that, on TV. And I kind of was like aware that, okay, that's Stevie Nicks. And I thought she was the lead singer. All I knew was like, okay, Stevie Nicks is like the lead singer. Of course, she only came into the band like just like 10 albums in. So I didn't know that. I just think, oh, Stevie Nicks is the lead singer. In fact, if I listen to Stevie Nicks like solo work, I just figure that's just a Fleetwood Mac song. And then I realized, oh, that's a Stevie Nicks solo song. I don't know. Anyways, but so yeah, it was. And it's one of those albums that you hear so much that when I finally got around to it, and I didn't get around to it till like recently, really, I kind of finally was like, oh, I need to listen to this album. And, it felt like it was overhyped, I listened to it and I was like, it's okay. It's not the greatest album I've ever heard, but I feel like everybody was like, oh, it's the greatest album. It's the greatest album. And for a long time, I was just kind of stepped back from it, kind of going, I don't think it's as good as what everybody says it is. And, but yet, I recognize it has like a lot of hit songs on it. So I was like, yeah, I recognize these songs. But again, I just never grew up like a big Fleetwood Mac person. But then I feel like just recently, kind of going through Fleetwood Mac, I'm kind of appreciating them so much more now. Especially listening to the last album, I thought was really good. And I own this album. I've had it. I bought it this last year. Anyway, so I've listened to it, a couple times now. And now the more times I listen to it, the more I'm like, yeah, this is a really good album. Like I think I got a little too much into my head that it was like, overhyped, it was like this greatest album of all time. In fact, it was in my 100 favorite albums list, but I had it kind of low on my list, but it was in there. But I don't know why. I just felt like, yeah, I like it, but I didn't love it. And so it wasn't like real high. And I had an individual who was like commenting on my videos. And when I did my Rumours on there, they kind of commented that like, oh, this is their favorite album all time, and they couldn't believe I had this low, and I felt like, oh, I upset them, and I felt kind of bad about it. I was like, oh no, like and that person never commented on another video ever since, and that's a couple of years ago, probably when I first started doing my 100 favorite albums list, and I kind of felt bad about it because I was like, oh man, like I drove away somebody who was watching my videos because I didn't have Rumours, my top 10 or something, or didn't have my favorite album. So I felt like, oh gosh, I guess I should, give this album, more love, because if I don't, people are going to be like, you don't know what you're talking about, and they're not going to watch my channel. But anyways, that's a long story to say. I come back around to saying this is a great album, though.
Yeah, I'd say that was probably a blessing in disguise, because if you're not going to agree with someone and not watch your videos because of one opinion, then maybe it's better off that he isn't there anymore. That's pretty babyish of that person to not watch your videos just because of one video. But that's just my opinion.
It's being a YouTuber, that stuff happens, and you second guess yourself. I think we've all been there. Maybe, I don't know.
If someone's like, I'm never watching your videos ever again to me, I'd be like, okay, bye. It's not like that person never did anything for me. I'm like, bye. I get where you're coming from, though. They were commenting on you a lot, but if they're not going to watch your video just because of one video, I don't know. That to me, that's not right. I think this is a very legendary album. Scott and Jason really summed it up really well. What do you got to say, though, Bryer?
I think everyone has done a good job already. I don't have much else to add to it, but I mean, like everyone's and Nick's gone.
We lost our host.
Neil Young again.
All right, you're in charge, Bryer.
All right. Well, I guess you didn't want to hear my opinion.
Oops.
All right.
What?
I guess I'll still continue. But yeah, I mean, you two already already said it. Everything needs to be said. I mean, it's a legendary album. I mean, it's one of those albums that is pretty mandatory listening when it comes to music. I mean, especially in the 70s, this album definitely has a huge following. And this is, of course, this is like everyone's introduction to Fleetwood Mac. I know this was my introduction to them. I've heard their hits over the years, but I feel like I saw it. I think I got this at Walmart. I think back when they actually had a big CD collection, but I just felt like I had to get it because it's the legendary album. And when I got it, like it clicked right away. I just like the feel of it. It's just a good album and deserves the reputation it has.
Back before Walmart had just 15 CDs and 500 copies of Adele's 21.
Pretty much.
Oh, Adele's 30. I see that all the time now, and I'm like,
500 record copies.
It's crazy.
And then the very few Walmart exclusives that are in the weird color variants.
Yeah.
It's like, let me see what we have in the Walmart vinyl section in the color variants. Oh man, all they got is Led Zeppelin's Presents. That's what happens when I'll go and I'll be like, what Led Zeppelin albums do they have? Oh, all they got is Presents.
Oh yeah, I go and I see Queen's Hot Space. I'm like, really?
I'll get that. Where's that? My Walmart.
Exactly. All they have is just the greatest hits.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I always see the greatest hits all the time.
I think
the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack
all the time.
Studio albums, Queen studio albums are way better than the greatest hits. Because with the greatest hits, it's like you're just barely scratching the surface. Let's dive into the album though. First song on the album, Secondhand News. Who wants to go first?
I don't know. Do you want me to go first, or
you could go first?
Since I'm the guest here.
Sure.
You guys can fill in the gaps because you know more than I do. But we start with Secondhand News, which is one of the few non-hit songs on this album. I feel like, I don't know what song is not a hit song on this album. It's like
it's basically a greatest hits album.
It's like a greatest hits album. Like I feel like I've heard every song on the radio on this album except for this one. And maybe it's the only one I'm not as familiar with. But you start off with a Lindsey Buckingham song here, and for me, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are not going to like me saying this. It's my least favorite song on the album, and it's not a bad song either. It's an okay song, but there's so many great songs on here. You start off with this one, and I'm always like ready to get to the next one. So I'm like, I'm not like really into it. It's just okay. It's just an okay Lindsey Buckingham song that I don't remember all that well when I get to it. I go, oh yeah, this song. And then I'm ready for the next one, which is when we get to that. It's like one of my favorite songs on the album. But anyway, so I don't have a lot to say except for that.
All right. I think I'll go next. Yeah, this is, like Jason says, this was not a hit single. But to me, I think this is this pretty much sets the tone pretty well for this album, because the opening line is, I know there's nothing to say. Someone has taken my place. I mean, right off the bat, the song's about Stevie.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And so that's gonna be a common theme where a lot of these songs are written about certain members of the band.
Not about the newspaper.
Yeah, sadly, no. But yeah, I mean that
yesterday's paper.
Yeah, but yeah, to me, it's just a nice, really good upbeat song. Again, kind of juxtaposing the very cynical, very bitter lyrics in here. And I really do like the feel of it. It has a sort of Scottish, almost Irish folk sort of influence in here, which I dig quite a bit. And I do like the percussion in this one. Definitely has a very cool feel to it. And I've read that the actual drum rhythm was actually inspired by the Bee Gees' Jive Talkin'. Like it has a very similar kind of rhythm to it, especially the opening. I think the opening riff kind of, I can hear it quite a bit. And yeah, I don't have much to say. I will agree with Jason. This was another song that is kind of ranked low for me, but that's just purely because there's just so many other fantastic songs in that something has to be lower. But I still really enjoy the song. I think it's a really good opening song.
I enjoy this song probably more than you guys. I love how it opens the album with that guitar strumming, dun 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 dun, and then he starts singing. And I love the breakdown of round 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 bow 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 bow. I really like that. Yeah, this is definitely a diss track at Stevie, but you're gonna see that theme throughout this album.
I love this song. I'm with Scott. This is one of my favorites on the album. Yeah, I'm shocked. I really am. It's Jason's least favorite on the album. It's one of Bryer's least favorites on the album. I'm surprised.
I still like it though.
I know. I was just surprised. I was predicting everyone was gonna really like the song. Yes, I love the "I'm just secondhand news. I'm just secondhand news." What a great song. Next song on the album, "Dreams."
All right, this is one of their biggest hits, probably off the album. This is one I remember listening to a lot growing up. It was on the radio a lot, and this has always been a favorite of mine growing up. Like if I knew one Fleetwood Mac song, it was. I mean, I knew a couple, but this was definitely one of those that if you said Fleetwood Mac when I was younger, I probably would have said, "Oh, Dreams." That's like my favorite Fleetwood Mac song. Again, we got Stevie Nicks here, and I love Stevie Nicks' vocals here. It's just absolutely amazing when she hits some of those high notes. It's so good, so smooth. I don't know, it's just so soothing, her voice or something. She's my favorite singer in the group. I love her songs, always my favorite usually. And I just love this chorus, thunder only happens when it's raining, lovers only something when you're playing, I think. I don't know why, I love those lyrics, love this chorus. It's a fantastic song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is a classic and one of Stevie's signature song here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, apparently it took her 10 minutes to write this song, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, this is basically a song again. This is towards Lindsay, and it's kind of a more. I like the overall feel of it. Again, there's kind of a melancholic feel to it, which I really enjoy. This was actually the second single, and this was actually their only number one hit in the U.S.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Only one. Okay.
The only one that got to number one here in the States, and also got number one in Canada too. So there's that. And yeah, it's a really beautiful song and not too complicated too. It just has a nice steady beat, and the bass line is simple. It just plays with F and G mainly, just going back and forth between those two notes, but it's very effective. And some great guitar playing by Lindsay, of course, really adding some more texture to it. Yeah, it's a terrific song. This is one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah, this song is absolutely amazing. I love the opening drum fill that Mick Fleetwood does. Mick Fleetwood and John McVie are very in sync on this song. They've really got the groove going. This song and another particular song on the album, I think, are their biggest moments with like the groove. I'll say which one that is whenever we get to it, but keeping the bass and the drums just grooving along with the song. Stevie Nicks' vocals are amazing. I love the part whenever she has like the two different vocal melodies going at the same time right before you hit the chorus. The chorus is very good. I love the production on here, not just the bass and the drums, but like Lindsey Buckingham's little guitar fills that sounds like are either played with a slide or played with I think maybe more perhaps like a volume pedal. He's doing volume swells. I love that there's a little vibraphone in there that's kind of back in the mix, but it used to accentuate specific sections of the song. It's a very chill feeling to this song and very laid back, and it is just absolutely amazing.
I think this is another really good song on the album. Polly is one of my least favorites on the album. Kind of like what Bryer said about the last song. I really like it. It just, in terms of the ranking, this was never like This was never like one of my favorite songs from this album. I always thought it was really good, but for some reason, it never like took me as much as like Landslide and like Sarah did. Those two are amazing Stevie Nicks songs, but for some reason, the song never hit me with the same as those two songs. But this is still great though. Nothing to complain about. I think the melody is really good. Stevie Nicks sings really well on it. I don't know. It's just for some reason there's just something about it that just doesn't have me want to listen to it as much. We get to the next song on the album, which is "Never Going Back Again."
Yeah, Never Going Back Again. Another song I feel like was on the radio. Like I recognize it when I first get to it. I'm always like, oh yeah. Like I forgot this was a Fleetwood Mac song. I'm like, yeah, I've heard this before. Like pretty much every song on this album, I've like to me it's like a radio hit. Maybe I'm missing something, but what's so fantastic about this song is the guitar playing is some of my favorite on the album, and what really gets me into the song. It's one of my favorite on the album because it sounds to me like there's an acoustic guitar and a mandolin maybe playing at the same time. I don't know. That's my feeling just listening to it without looking at it. I didn't do any research, but I love anytime if there's a mandolin in there, I love it anytime they throw a mandolin into a song. I'm always like a big fan of that. And the picking is just so fantastic. As the dun 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 dun. Anyways, it's like it's my favorite kind of like guitar picking, and overall, I think it's Lindsey Buckingham singing the song, if I remember right. Yeah. And overall, great vocals, I think, and just a really fun, catchy song. I think it's almost. I don't know if it's underrated, but to me, it's like one that I go to and I go, oh yeah, this is fantastic. I forgot how good the song is until I get to it. And I'm like, yes, this is one of my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is another pretty nice song. This is basically Lindsey really getting to show off more of his guitar skills. Cause again, he just finger picks. He doesn't use a pick or anything. He just uses fingers. And because of that, it just has a very cool, unique tone to it, which is very cool. Apparently this was actually one of the last songs that was included on the album. And it's pretty quick. It's not a long song or anything. It's pretty short. But it's very nice acoustic track, and again, kind of another relationship type song, just him singing about like him trying to, find a new person to be with a relationship with, and saying I'm never going back to that old relationship I was in. So maybe another slight dig at Stevie, but it's kind of supposed to have a more uplifting sort of sound to it. But overall, yeah, it's a pretty nice song.
This song is amazing. For my money, I'd say it's the best guitar playing on any Fleetwood Mac record. It's definitely the most difficult song to play in the Fleetwood Mac discography, is doing the finger picking and getting it to sound right. It sounds like there's several guitars, but I think it's just one part. The reason that it sounds like that, I don't know if there's a mandolin in there, but I know Lindsey Buckingham specifically had the sound engineers give him new strings every take. So every time he did a take, he would cut the strings off and be like, give me new ones. I want a new set of strings for the next take, so that would give it a fresh sound.
Okay.
A specific sound he was going for. It's a very chill song, and it's one of my favorites on the album.
I think there's a really good song on the album. This is my favorite song on the album. I hate to spoil it, but the song's a masterpiece. I love how simple it is. It's a great ballad. I love the way that he sings on it. Cool little tidbit by Scott there with the strings. That's cool. Yeah, this is a masterpiece. I never get tired of it. It's just one of those songs. Next song on the album, we get "Don't Stop."
All right. Everybody has to have heard this song a million times. I feel like this may be the most played song in the whole discography of Fleetwood Mac. I feel like it was on the radio all the time. And in fact, I remember in the 90s, as I'm the only one who probably remembers the 90s as well as anybody here, when Bill Clinton was running for president, this was his like campaign song.
Yeah, that's how he got the original lineup back together.
Yeah.
Because
I
they
remember
played
that
at
being-
his inauguration.
And I don't pay attention to campaign songs. I just remember that being like the big thing. Like I was using "Don't Stop" as like this campaign thing. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow, whatever. So it's obviously a very catchy song. I almost want to say I don't know if it's as good as it's almost overplayed. Like I don't think it's as good as I feel like it's played. I don't know if that makes sense. It's still a good song. I think it's still catchy. But it's funny enough, it's like not one of my favorite on the album.
Okay. So for me, this is another one of my favorites on the album. This was written by Christine, and it's interesting because you have Christine and Lindsay.
I take it back.
duo.
It's one of my favorites now.
Don't know. Don't know if that's a lie or not. If that's a rumor or not. But anyhow.
I hate
yeah.
when I make a statement, then someone's like, "Oh, it's my favorite." I'm like, never mind.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're justified. But yeah, this is again, like I said, this is a duet with Christine and Lindsay on this one. So Lindsay starts it off, then Christine gets a verse as well. And yeah, this was a song directed towards John, of course. But this one's kind of a bit different. I mean, with Stevie and Lindsay, they were kind of a bit more bitter about their breakups. With Christine, I always picture it was kind of a mutual separation. Like they kind of knew it, so they kind of didn't have too much drama between those two. And this song has a more uplifting message to it. You know, like the lyric said, you know, don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Like, okay, this happened, but now I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna keep my chin up and just be moving. That sort of thing, which I enjoy. And apparently, for years, John had no idea this song was about him. And John has gone on record to say, "I've been playing it for years, and it wasn't until somebody told me Chris wrote that about you." Oh, really?
And then you start paying attention to the lyrics and like,
Yeah. Yes, I guess
lyrics.
pretty much. But yeah, this is the third single, by the way, and this got to number 3 in the US and 32 in the UK. And again, I just love how uplifting it is. It just feels good. Just got a good beat, and I almost forgot, but I just love the piano intro. Just some great chords being used here. Just sets the tone nicely. And again, Lindsay and Christine really work well off each other, especially when they're singing together. And when the whole band, when Stevie joins in on the chorus, the harmonies, I think it sounds great as well. So yeah, it's another one of my favorites here. So yeah, love the song.
Yeah, the song's amazing. You don't really get a whole lot of Christine McVie and Lindsey Buckingham duets. I know there was one on the self-titled album, but you got that and you got this one, and can't really think of any others at the moment. But piano playing is really good. I love the guitar solo. Really good. I love the chorus. Very catchy. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. And I always love that little bend he does when it's like, don't stop, it'll soon be. Yeah, it's a very good song.
Full agreement. This is an amazing song. This is also in my top 5. It's just yet another amazing Christine McVie song on top of piles that she accumulated throughout the 70s with Bob Welch until now. Congrats, Christine McVie. You really are proving yourself to be one of the best, if not the best, if we're talking about consistency and like long-term effect. She's just awesome. Lindsay sings great on this, of course. Love the kind of the back and forthness of some of it. It's a really good song. We get to the next song on the album, Go Your Own Way.
All right, one big hit to the next big hit on the album. I mean, it's just insane how many big hits there are here. When you're going through it, you're like, holy cow, another absolutely humongous one. I feel like listening to music growing up, like Dreams, Don't Stop, Going Your Own Way, Chain were maybe the 4 that were played the most off this album. Like I feel like those are the ones I'm most familiar with. And I'm like, oh man, yeah, I heard this growing up all the time. It's, a staple, rock radio, whatever, classic rock. And this is absolutely fantastic song. One of my favorite on the album. And it's Lindsey Buckingham. He built some really good vocals here, like his best vocal work, go your own way. Like way he does that. I'm not doing it like he is. He's like belting it out. Like I'm like, wow, like I love how he does that. I really love the drumming on here. I really noticed when I was listening to it, I was like, man, I love the drumming. Like I don't pay attention to drumming all the time on Fleetwood Mac, but this is one where I'm like, I just love the way he's drumming. I don't know, the beat and how it's doing it, and how and I love the guitar solo, whatever, is amazing. Guitar work is again fantastic from Lindsey Buckingham. Obviously, super catchy song, great chorus to it. I love when they sing together; they sound great in harmonies. Yeah, what more can I say? It's one of their best songs in my opinion.
Yep, I agree. This is one of my favorites on the album, and probably one of my favorite Fleetwood Mac songs in general. This is definitely one of Lindsey's best songs, I think. Just a great rock song, and yeah, this was the first single off the album. This got number 10 in the US and 38 in the UK. And yeah, it's just such a great song. Like again, Jason brought up the drumming. Again, this Mick Fleetwood is just killing it on the drums here. And I've read the drumming was actually somewhat inspired by Street Fighting Man by the Rolling Stones.
Oh wow!
It has a very kind of similar, but I mean lyrically, it goes off saying this is yet another song directed at Stevie, and this is probably the most bitter song on the album.
Oh man!
Yeah.
Especially when they performed it live, you can see Stevie just looking at him, just giving him a stare. Especially the line where he talks about, packing up and shacking up's all you want to do. Like how it kind of insinuates that Stevie does Stevie, and Stevie's like, that's not true. and so yeah, that very bitter song, but again, the musicianship on here is absolutely incredible. Again, love John's bass line, especially during the chorus. Like his bass playing in that section, just so good. I've tried to play it before, but I just can't seem to get the timing right. Because there's some sliding in there, and he's like some little bit of stretching in there using my pinky finger, which is still not the best at the moment. But it's absolutely spectacular. And again, another thing Jason brought up was Lindsey's vocals. I mean, he is just belting it out, especially when you see it live. He's just going all out on it, just getting all that emotion out. And the harmonies during the chorus is fantastic. And of course, Lindsey's guitar work, of course. I mean, there's 2 guitar solos. The first solo, he's kind of teasing you a little bit. He's kind of having these drawn out notes. But then after you get to the second chorus, that's when he finally gets to let out, and he's just going all the town on the guitar. Yeah, to me, it's one of the great rock songs of the 70s, and yeah, I absolutely love this song.
This song is an absolute masterpiece. It's amazing. I love the opening where it's just you got the acoustic guitar that's strumming down 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 down, and the electric guitar that's just kind of hanging on the F boom 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 boom. Whenever you put that boom 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 and the boom 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 boom, whenever you put them together, it's got this really cool. I keep talking about Lindsey Buckingham's wall of guitar sound. That's what I called it. That's really in full play on this song here. And then whenever Mick Fleetwood and John McVie come in, it's like, yes. And Bryer was talking about the bass on the chorus. The bass on the chorus is epic. Boom, 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 boom. And that just goes so well with the chorus. It's very like counterpoint to the main melody. Like John's playing notes when other people aren't. I don't think that really fills in the sound very well. Jason was talking about the drumming. The drumming is insane. And then, yeah, the guitar solo, how he plays that without a pick is amazing.
Yeah.
Especially whenever it's, I don't know how he does it, but he does these solos sometimes where, like, he does some great stuff, and then he'll just hang out on one note and just play it over and over again, but with more intense vibrato every time he plays it. And it's like, that should not sound that good for just one note. And he goes, it's like he's just playing the same note, but he just plays it more intensely every time he plays it. And then he has a little part where that fades out and another part fades in where it's like, And then like the outro where he's doing the guitar solo, and we still got that cool bass and the drums and all the harmonies. Go your way. Yeah, this is most definitely in my top 5. I'll just say that right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this song. Funny enough, this barely did not make my top 5. A really good song. Cool. Everyone's leaving on me. Now it went from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young to just Nash.
Yep. Don't worry, I cut my hair. That's what I was doing.
You cut your hair?
Yep. I didn't almost do it. I did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had my American Dream earlier today.
And
Jason was carrying on.
Yep. With his Sweet Judy blue eyes.
Yep.
Well, Sweet Judy blue shirt.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, it's a really good song though. I will say I've heard the song a lot, not from radio, but just from different like rock playlists and all that. I'm not saying I'm tired of it. I think there's just a couple of songs I like more than it. Now we get to the last song on side 1. The first song where McVie really gets a lead vocal, Songbird.
It's gonna be so difficult to make a top 5 for this album.
I know.
Mm.
Yeah,
There's at least 7 songs that are trying to make the top 5.
I know. Yeah, what a nice closer to this first side with a ballad from Chris McVie really shining on this song. And man, I love the piano on this. It's beautiful, and Chris McVie, it's great singing it. And to me, it's another great Chris McVie song. Like the last album, I think she had "Over My Head" or something like that, and it might have been something else on there. I'm forgetting on top of my mind, but this reminds me of some of those songs she had on the last album. It's like, I love getting a good ballad after some good rock songs. It's a really nice ballad.
Yeah. This goes without saying, this is one of Christine's signature songs. I mean, she wrote many songs, but this is definitely one of her most celebrated ones, and for good reasons. Bit of story with this song. She actually had she had a hard time sleeping one night, and it was about midnight, and she was just playing with the piano, and she had the chords already there. And when she had a chord sequence, she was like, "Oh my God, I can't forget about this." And so she ended up staying all night, just out of fear. If she goes to sleep and wakes up, she would forget it. And so, but luckily, so she stayed up all night, and then she presented it to the producer, and the producer was like, "Oh my God, this is going to be a great one." And just how the feel of it, the producer had the idea, okay, we got to make this something special. So they actually rented like an actual music hall, and they had a piano set up, and it's a giant room, and they put like 15 mics around, and they had Christine at the piano, and they were going to just record it there. And to really set the mood, the producer actually bought flowers and just placed it on top of the piano, like a little lounge sort of setting, and just to make it just a little bit more intimate. And she's at the piano. They wanted to do this in one take. It took them all night to do that because they kept messing up, but they stood up all night just trying to get that perfect take. And Lindsay was also there because he's playing acoustic guitar as well, and he's somewhere off to the side, and he's mic'd up too. And they just got the song down, and this is absolutely love this song. This is one of my favorites from Christine, and it's just her vocals on here is absolutely spectacular. I mean, when she passed away a couple of years ago, this was the first song I played because, from when she first joined the band up to now, for me, she was their songbird. Every time she sang, it was always a highlight for me, and I just love her voice on it. And I think John McVie actually sums up the song very well. He said that when Christine played Songbird, grown men would weep. I did every night. So there it is. So yeah, I love this song.
These next two songs are Christine McVie's best two songs, in my opinion. Like, they're amazing. I'm going to have a hard time deciding which of these two is better. I'll say that right now. But wow. Especially having this right after Go Your Own Way, like one of the big rock songs on the album. You get this slow ballad, Christine McVie's just playing the piano, and you got Lindsey Buckingham just playing some soft chords in the background on the guitar. And then when she starts singing, oh my goodness, it is amazing. I can't even really describe this song very well. This is just something you have to listen to for yourself. I did not know about all of the setup where they recorded it in a music hall. I think that makes it even better. But every time I get to this song on the album, it's just like, wow. Whenever because it's the side closer. It's the last thing you hear before you got to flip the record. It's just like, wow. What are they going to follow that up with? Like, you can't get much better than that. And well, you flip the record, and they get at least just as good as that on the next song. But we'll save that for when we get there. Songbird is amazing, and I really want this to be in my top 5. I really hope this is in my top 5. I can't guarantee any other than Go Your Own Way. I can't guarantee anything that's going to be in my top 5. That's how good this album is.
I really like this song. It's a very beautiful Christine McVie song. Definitely one of her best. Man, this is another just awesome song by her. You guys, I don't really have much to say. You guys are basically summing up the best you guys can. And it just kind of adding to it. Like, this is a great song. Now we flip the record over. There you go, Bryer. We get to the next song, The Chain.
Yes, the chain. You're never gonna break the chain. This song, it rocks, it slaps. Whatever adjective you want to throw in there, that's what this song is. It's got the greatest groove to it on the whole album of all Fleetwood Mac. It's, man, when I get this song, I'm like, wow, this song's so amazing. And we got so many good songs already, and then this one's like, wow, this is even better than everything I've heard before. And this is definitely up there as one of my favorite Fleetwood Mac sounds of all time. It's definitely going to be in my top 10, top 5 probably of all time. I think instrumentally, it's the best song they've done. Like, as far as like drums, guitar, bass really shines on this song. I know Brier's going to talk about it probably, but like all of the instruments are just so great. It's just a great rock song. It just yeah, you get in this groove of this, and then the back and forth. I mean, it's so amazing. I feel like when I watch it, it's always like Lindsey Buckingham's over here singing, and then you see like Stevie Nicks and I don't know, maybe Christine over here, and it's almost this back and forth thing where it's like, you never break the, you don't know me now, you don't know me, you don't know me again, still. Oh, I love it. Sounds so amazing. Their voices sound so great together. This is like the best of what Fleetwood Mac can do when they sing together, and you know, those voices together is what makes me really starting to really like them and put them as one of my favorite bands now.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. It's funny enough, this song was actually credited to all the members, not just one, because I think every member brought something to the song, and it's just I think overall, I think this song best represents the band during this time. You know, despite all the turmoil, the emotional turmoil going on, they're still a band, and they're still just pulling through. They're still chained together, just creating music here. And yeah, just Jason pretty much summed it up. I mean, the musically, is definitely one of the biggest highlights here. Again, there's a lot of tension in the beginning. They're just building all this tension here with the guitar, the groove of it, and once you get to the chorus, I mean, the chorus is just so great, so memorable as well. And another one, when you see footage of it live around that time again,
yes,
awkward, a little bit of awkwardness there, especially when you see Lindsey just screaming the lyrics at Stevie, and Stevie's screaming it back. So that's always interesting.
Because is it a Stevie Nicks song about? Am I crazy? I thought it was about like it's like a diss track of Lindsey Buckingham or
It's
something.
kind yeah, it's kind of more just the whole band in general, just all the relationship
It's
issues
funny
that
them
they're all
singing
going
to
through.
each other, and it's like
Because
we're singing the song.
I mean,
against each
that's the
other.
thing. I think Lindsay and Stevie, those two always had they were the most upfront with their drama. I mean, John and Christine, they kind of kept it low key, but I mean, when you think about Fleetwood Mac, you always think about Lindsay and Stevie going at it at each other.
It's like there's a song
So that's how I
Stevie
take it. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I mean, then you get to the middle section and you hear, Mick just doing that snare thing, and then you hear that bong 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 bong, and just that great bass breakdown from John. I mean, that's one of John's like signature parts. Is just that simple bass riff there. And then once he plays that, then all of a sudden that's when the song just explodes, and it just becomes an all-out rock song. And then Lindsay again, just really almost shredding on the guitar almost. I mean, he's just again absolutely spectacular solo, and especially when they all come in for the final chain keep us together line. They're all just going at it, and this nice fade out by the end of it. So yeah, it's yet another one of my favorites on the album. And so yeah, love another song I love here.
Well, just thinking about that song gave me chills just thinking about that moment and in the song. And I'll say this right now, there are two songs right now that are fighting for my top song on this album, as well as my favorite Fleetwood Mac song, period. But on an earlier video, I think I said that I was tired of hearing this song and that it was overplayed and it was one of my least favorites on the album. I 100% withdraw that. This song is epic. I love it. It's one of the best songs on the album. I love how all of the band members are kind of involved with it. Very angry song. You can hear that in their voices. Lindsey Buckingham starts out with the acoustic guitar, and then I love the part where it goes bound dun 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 dun, and Mick just hits the cymbal and grabs it. Dun dun dun.
Great.
That's really cool. And then it gets back in the guitar, boom, dum. And then the harmonies. Listen to the wind blow. Oh, so good. And then it gets into the chorus. You just get that driving. If you don't love me, and then John McVie's bass is just bah bah. He's just playing quarter notes on the root note, but like the way he does it, just holds it down. And Mick Fleetwood's drumming, and then my favorite part is that outro where you get that boom boom. It's just like wow. And I listened to this. I listened to at least the first half of the album plus a few other songs before this video. And whenever it got to the bass, I had to hit the loud switch on my setup so that I could hear the bass as loud as possible. And yeah, it did not disappoint. That bass is amazing. And then you can come in with very quietly, and then it gets louder, and he goes up an octave. And then he plays all this crazy guitar, and then in the background just getting Jay, keep us together. And then Lindsey Buckingham goes, running in the shadows.
Yeah.
And then that's just how it ended. They just keep doing that, and Lindsey Buckingham just keeps playing this really amazing guitar. And then John keeps that boom, 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 boom. They just kind of like keep doing that until it fades out. But it's like it's like a bit of a faster feel than the rest of the song, and it's insanely good.
Yeah, this is a really good song on the album. Again, I don't really have much to say. You guys really summed it up well.
We broke it down.
I mean, it's kind of hard to review this album with all of us because, like, what's there really to add? It's just legendary album. The song's legendary. One thing I will say is, for the longest time, this was my least favorite on the album, but and that has long been changed. This is epic song on the album. I love the chorus part, especially. You don't love the You must never break the chain. Epic song. Now we get to the next McVie song. You make loving fun.
Too many good songs on this album.
It's like it never stops.
Don't
Don't
stop.
stop.
It won't stop. Yeah, it's like you get to this and you're like, what more can they do after the chain? And then it's like, no, this is a really good, catchy like pop song. It's another one I feel like I've heard on the radio, I'm sure, growing up, and it's like, so every song just feels so familiar. I'm like, oh yeah, this was a good one too. And I don't have a lot to say except it's another really good pop song on the album.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, goes without saying, the groove is infectious with this one. I mean, the bass line and the drumming, and you have Christine on the electric piano. Yeah, this is another really fantastic song. And apparently, this was written about their lighting director, because Christine was kind of, they were seeing each other a little bit.
You know, a little close.
And yeah, a little close. Yeah. And in order and she didn't tell John about it, even though they weren't together. She didn't have the heart to tell him who it was really about, so she lied and said it was about a dog. But not really the best lie, I would say.
No.
But regardless, still, this was actually another single. This was the 5th single. This got to number 9 in the US and 45 in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoy the chorus. Really great chorus of it, especially all the harmonies at the very end before it fades out. Another great song. Again, I mean, I think all of us can agree. I mean, Scott said it before, but yeah, there's a lot of songs that could be the top 5, and a lot of these songs are very close to each other. There's not a whole difference between them, but this is another song I really enjoy.
Okay, so I said before there were 2 songs that the groove really goes on like amazingly on this album. The first one was Dreams. The second one is this one. The bass and the drums, just keeping that groove. You got that descending bass riff at the beginning. I have heard this on the radio. In fact, I've said this before, but I thought it was Billy Joel the first time I heard it. That's before I really knew who Billy Joel was. I'd heard the name before, and I was just like, is that Billy Joel? But I found out later it was Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, I love the groove, and I love Lindsey Buckingham's guitar playing on this song is amazing. I love kind of the funky little fills that he does in between the singing on this. Christine McVie's electric piano is amazing as well. Do I hear like some clavinet in there as well? John Paul Jones, eat your heart out. Christine McVie can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
And Christine McVie's singing is amazing. I love the believe in the ways of magic. That's probably my favorite part of the song. And it's like how she just holds up the E. I don't know. But yeah, this is another one I want to be in my top 5.
This is a really good song on the album. I really dig the style of it. Still, the song didn't make my top 5. Probably one of my least favorite Christine McVie songs up until now. It's really good, but I don't know. I just never hit the same like the other tracks on the album. I like it, but to me, it doesn't really fit well on this album. I feel like it would have fit better on the previous album. Like if it was like the closing track to the self-titled album. But that's just my opinion on that. Next song we got on the album, I Don't Want to Know.
Yeah, this is a really fun, catchy pop song, and I want to say at least 2 people singing together during this. So I like the singing together of it. And man, just a really great chorus again. It's just another song. You're like, wow, they just never, I said last time, they don't stop putting out another great pop song after another. It just never lets up. And you're like, wow, this is another just really good song. I just love that. I don't want to know And then love is I want. Oh, it's fun to sing along to. It's like it's another just really great song.
Mm.
I have
Yep.
the answer to What the Gem's question. We flipped the record to side 2. We flipped the record over
There
for
it is.
side 2.
Why is
Yeah.
Brier's just weird that way? No,
Yeah.
there's a reason.
We
Maybe
had
this
to flip. We had
this
to
hat's
flip
a
the
little
record.
tight. Maybe that's why.
He didn't
Or
get
you
enough.
just wanted to see Mick Fleetwood standing on the ceiling.
He
Yeah.
was-
Have the balls up. But anyhow, yeah, this is another Stevie song written by her. And can anybody want to guess who this song's about?
John McVie,
Yeah, Fleetwood.
Peter Blue.
Well, good guess. Well, Mick Fleetwood's pretty close. That they would get it. They would. That was another thing. But besides that, yep, another song about Buck Lindsay. Yeah. I mean, it says so in the title. I don't want to know. But yeah, but it's still a nice, really good song here. Another song I really enjoy. Again, John's bass playing on this track, very great, good groove to it. Just again, has a very upbeat feel to it, but again, the lyrics kind of juxtapose of it. And yeah, it almost has a little bit of a country flair. I have a little bit of country, especially the opening guitar line in the beginning has a little bit of a country flair. But yeah, another song I really enjoy.
I really like the guitar intro, the bow, 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 bow. And then it's Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks singing together. I don't have as much to say about this song, but I'm not trying to diminish it. Like it's still amazing. It's I just like have a bit more to say about the other songs. I don't think this one's going to be in my top 5, but like I'm not going to say this is the worst song on the album. This is not my least favorite song on the album. There's another one, but like I still really like this song. I just have others I like better.
I think it was a really good song on the album. This is definitely a highlight for me. Yeah, I decided to put on the Rumours tour because
Nice.
it was starting.
There's
What's
Christine.
Christine?
There.
Yeah, what's Christine singing right now?
Having fun.
There you go.
Well, I guess I'll put that song on since that's a highlight for everyone. This is an amazing song, by the way. The one that we are talking about. Again, you guys are subbing it all up for me. I'm like what's there for me to add? It's a great song. I figured. I figured whoever was watching, I figured they didn't want to watch the same versus Penguin. So seeing
All right.
I
Into the next one, I'm guessing.
I think Nick's having some tech issues.
Well, I said the next song's Oh Daddy.
Oh, Daddy.
The next song's Oh Daddy. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
We can hear you.
I thought you heard me.
No,
I saw Jason. I'm like, oh, does he want Bryer to talk about that song?
like
I mean,
what Nick's saying, but I'm guessing it's my turn. Oh Daddy, it's interesting. This is a song that I feel like anytime I hear people talk about this album, it's always like this is the worst song on the album. People don't seem to like the song. I like the song actually, and I think the vocals are really good. And I was like, oh Daddy. I don't know. It kind of I kind of enjoy it actually. And again, it's probably not one of my favorite on the album, but I think it's still a really good song.
Okay, I can breathe a sigh of relief now. I thought I was going to be the only one. But yeah, I agree. This is another song I always enjoyed. When I first heard this album, I've always enjoyed. Then again, I'm biased for Christine, so there's that. But this is actually the 6th single. I couldn't find
6 singles.
Yeah, there was a lot of singles for this.
For 11 songs?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But I couldn't find where it charted. I couldn't find that. But regardless, what's interesting about this song, the "Oh Daddy" part. I heard there's like two ways you can interpret it, and I've read that the real meaning was that, again, this was kind of of course Christine wrote this, but he actually wrote this for Mick because he was going through a divorce and he had kids at the time, and so she kind of wrote it kind of in the perspective of his kids. Going divorce was a tough thing, so kind of wrote it kind of inspired by that. Or it could also be about, I already mentioned that lighting director, could be a little bit of that as well. So there's two ways you can see it. But yeah, I've always enjoyed this song. Again, I just like the more melancholic feel to it. Just like the intro with the acoustic guitar and the keyboards to it. And there's a little bit of castanets in here as well. And yeah, Christine's vocals just really shine here, really nice. Again, it's not her best song on the album. I'd say, yes, of all the songs she wrote on the album, this is my least favorite. But again, I've always really enjoyed this song. But yeah, so yeah, I enjoy it.
Okay, this is probably my least favorite song on the album, but I don't hate it. It's not even my favorite Fleetwood Mac song with Daddy in the title. Sugar Daddy is much better in the Daddy saga. But I kind of wish that they would have put the song Silver Springs on the album instead of this one. But that's nitpicking. It's still pretty good. I've
heard people say that, I think.
I kind of see it as like someone who's had kind of a rocky relationship with their father, trying to repair it. I kind of see that as the message of the song. Even though it's my least favorite, I think it's still good, and it's not one that I would skip or anything.
Yeah, this is a good song. This isn't my least favorite. My two least favorite songs on the album, sadly, are two Stevie Nicks songs, which is unfortunate because I really like Stevie Nicks, but wait until we get to the next album, Tusk, and even the album after that, Mirage. We get some amazing Nicks songs, but I don't know. This song, this is probably my least favorite Christine McVie song. Like, out of the 10 albums, that's like the 5 Bob Welch albums and the 5 Lindsey Buckingham Nicks albums is probably my least favorite song from her. It's good, but it's not great. But I'm kind of with Scott. I won't skip it, but it's good. Not amazing. Now we get to the last song on the album, Gold Dust Woman.
Yeah, I think I've heard Gold Dust maybe a reference to drugs. I'm sure Bryer would tell me. Otherwise, what the story of this is. So I think it's something to do with drugs, I feel like. Gold Dust Woman. It's another really good song on the album, and it's one that I'm pretty sure I've heard on the radio. So when I heard the song, I'm like, gosh, I swear I've heard this before, before I started listening to this album back in the day. And yeah, still love the vocals on here. I love the guitar on here. Still a really nice song that I really enjoy. It's good. I don't know if it's the best closer, but it's a fine closer for the album.
All right. Okay, so yeah, this is Stevie Nicks once again closing us out. And this was actually about another relationship she was in, and that relationship was cocaine. So yeah. At least it wasn't about Lindsay this time.
Good news, bad news.
Yeah. Her cocaine is stuff of legendary. But besides that, so my thoughts on the song. I do like this song, and I'm gonna admit this never been one of my favorites on the album. I do like it though. I do like the darker vibe to it. I think the music really fits the lyrics very well. It's nothing too crazy about it. It's simple percussion and some very nice guitar playing as well. And I do like the chorus to it. I think the chorus to it is very strong. And Stevie sings it pretty well. And it does leave this album a little bit of a haunting note in a sense. And yeah, again, it's never been one of my favorites. But I can't deny it still has some good moments in it, and I do think it's a pretty good way to go out for the album. So yeah, I do like it.
This is probably my second to least favorite song on the album. I've always felt that this one's kind of overrated because I hear it on the radio a lot, and I'm like, there's a lot better songs on Rumours that you could pick than this one, like pretty much any other song on the album. But again, it's not like I hate this song. It's actually pretty good. It's just you're dealing with an absolute masterpiece of an album, and you're going to have some songs that are better than others, even if the ones that aren't as good are still very great. I just if I'm going to hear a song from Rumours on the radio, I'd rather hear one of the other ones. But still, it's a pretty good song. I like Dreams a lot better of the Stevie Nicks songs on this album. I don't really know how I feel about this being the closer. I would have rather had Songbird be the closer. I feel like that kind of
I agree.
that's a better way to end the album in my opinion. But still, this album is very good the way it is. I'm just kind of nitpicking at this point.
You guys ever heard Silver Spring before?
I did hear it.
No.
How about you, Scott?
I've heard part of it.
Yeah, I think Silver Spring should have been on the album much more so than a couple of the choices that they had instead of it. Yeah, this is my least favorite on the album. This and Dreams. I don't know what's about it that makes it my least favorites on the album. It's just weird. It's just I like the songs. I think it works well. Not this one. I think this doesn't work well at all as the album closer. Well, when we rank the albums, I'm going to go more in depth on it. But one of my biggest problems with Rumours is that the track listing isn't the greatest. Never been the fan of the track listing. I think the songs are all great, but it doesn't really flow well the entire way through. But still a really good album though, because got like 7 like just amazing songs. Got like 4 songs I like, but like I don't know, they're not as strong as the other 7, so that kind of puts into effect on it in my ranking. So that's probably why you'll never see me have this as my favorite Fleetwood Mac album. I prefer 4 out of the 5 Bob Welch era albums over this because I feel like I like those albums all the way through without having many problems with it. This album just doesn't flow as well. Some of the songs are just way better than some of the others. That's just nitpicking though. Some bands would wish that this was not their best album for me. Like for most bands, this would be like their big achievement. This would be their greatest album of all time. But for me, it's just one of their best. I still think Mystery to Me is their best album, but this is a strong contender, though, for being one of their best. Right now, I have Gold Dust Woman. It's like this weird music video thing. I'm like,
Of or something?
I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
I was like, is that the one-winged dove that sings the song just like she's singing?
I think so. Who knows? I know what you're talking about, but yeah, you would think it would be that song, but no, it's Gold Dust Woman. Who knows? What's your top 5, Jason?
Number 5, I got Songbird. Number 4, Never Going Back Again. Number 3, Dreams. Number 2, Go Your Own Way. And number 1, The Chain.
Right. Okay, my number 5, I have Don't Stop. Number 4, Dreams. Number 3, The Chain. Number 2, Songbird. And number 1, Go Your Own Way.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, no. This is not going to be easy. Okay. That one. No, okay, I know what my top 5 songs are going to be.
What the order is.
Order. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Don't Stop. Number 5 is going to be Okay, number 5 is going to be Never Going Back Again. Number 4 is going to be You Make Loving Fun. Number 3 is going to be Songbird. And then number 1 and number 2 are the tricky ones. And it's going to be more like 1A and 1B. But number 2 is... Yeah, okay. Number 2 is... Number 2 is Go Your Own Way. Number 1 is The Chain. But
Nice.
1 and 2 can switch at any time.
Cool. My number 5, it's gonna be I Don't Want to Know. My number 4, gonna be The Chain. 3 best songs are on the first side. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Songbird. Number 2, I'm gonna go with Secondhand News. And my favorite song on the album, Never Going Back Again. Jason, what will you rate this album from 1 through 10?
Yeah. So interesting coming to this album. I talked about, like, for a long time, I've kind of felt like this album maybe was overhyped because everybody was like, oh, this is the greatest album ever. It's my favorite album. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's okay. You know, I think when I first put it on my top 100 favorite list, I think I maybe put it like as a 9 out of 10 or something like that. And then as we go through Fleetwood Mac and we got to the last album, Fleetwood Mac, and I gave it a 9.5 because I was like, wow, this was a really good, like, I really love when Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks joined in. Like, to me, it made the band just a million times better, like, than everything else they'd done. And when it came to this, I was like, okay, if I'm giving that a 9.5, I have to give this at least a 9.5 because this is also really great. And I even said, we were chatting back and forth, and I said, I might like Fleetwood Mac even better than Rumours. I'm not sure. They're both really good. And after listening to this album again today, I was like, there's like no bad song on this album, and there's some amazing songs. So I have to give it a 10 out of 10. There's no choice but to give it the 10 because as I'm listening.
Okay, cool.
Ding, ding, ding.
I thought we were gonna have a disagreement. I thought you're gonna be the only one who didn't give it a 10 out of 10.
No, and I like I said, I feel like it's been overhyped, but I'm at the point where I'm like, it deserves that 10 out of 10. It's just listening again. It's just like, no, these songs are amazing, and there's no bad song on it. So when you do that, it's a 10. You know, you have to give that perfect score, in my opinion. So, and I'm not afraid to give a 10 out every once in a while. I think if it deserves it, if it's like I said, if it's just there's nothing bad on here, it's gotta get that 10 because I have no criticism really of it. Even though I said Second News is my least favorite song, it's not a bad song. So it's like I really have no criticism of this album. It's a pretty much a perfect album in my opinion, and my favorite. No surprise. I mean, you know, it's my favorite Fleetwood Mac album. You know, surprise, surprise. It's everybody's favorite. I'm going along on the bandwagon. It's my favorite album so far.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, well, of course, this album has a huge reputation, and so a lot of times it's hard to match that reputation.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is the album I have the most history with when it comes to Fleetwood Mac, like most people.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always that part of you who's kind of I mean, at least for me, there's that part of me that's kind of like, I really don't want to give it. I don't want to give like the typical choice here when it comes to favorite Fleetwood Mac album. But you know, I'm gonna agree with Jason. I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10 as well, because yeah, I mean, even songs like Goldust Woman, like I said, it's not my favorite. I can't deny it's still a great song. There's still some great stuff in it. Even a lot of the songs near the bottom for me, I can't deny they are really well put together, well crafted, and production wise, it sounds phenomenal. I think it still sounds timeless to this day. You put this on, it still sounds fresh. And yeah, this just is one of those classic stories of like just it sound like the band was literally at the brink of imploding on itself, yet they still somehow, despite it, they managed to put out this pop masterpiece here. And yeah, I mean, every song is amazing. I do love this album, and yep, as of now, this is number 1, my favorite Fleetwood Mac album. And so. And I don't think the other albums are gonna top it. So
it's gonna be hard.
it's going to be really hard to top it. But yeah, it's a 10 for me.
That's the first time you've given a 10 out of 10 since the Mamas and Papas review.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn. This is my favorite Fleetwood Mac album. It's amazing. It's one of the greatest albums of all time. But I'm very picky about my 10s. I really hate to do this. I'm going to have to give it 9.75.
Oh, man.
Just because of A, Oh Daddy being not as good, and Gold Dust Woman being the closer. Like, those are the only two complaints. And Silver Springs not being on the album. I've heard that song, at least 3/4 of that song before, and I really wish that was on the album. So, but those are my only complaints about this album. Everything else is fantastic. Like, for me, if anything is a 9 or above, then that means it's one of the best albums I've ever heard. And this, like, getting a 9.75 is basically a perfect album, but with very few flaws.
So I guess Fleetwood Mac will never have a average of a 10 out of 10.
No, Fleetwood Mac, it's not going to get a... I'm not going to give Fleetwood Mac any 10 out of 10 albums, sadly.
Fair enough. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
All right.
Having my criticisms on it, I'm with Jason. I can't deny its impact. I can't deny how much great songs is on here. Even though it's not in my top 100 at all, Adam asked, what would this be in your top 10 albums, Jason and Bryer?
Probably not, but it'd be definitely in the 100 for sure. Top 100 for sure.
Well, I've been trying to keep track of the albums that I give a 9 or above on my computer, and this now I just now gave this a 10 out of 10. This wasn't a 10 out of 10 before, so now I'm going to bump this up to my 10 out of 10 range, and this will be the 26th album I'm giving a 10 out of 10. So it's in competition with 25 other albums for a top 10 for sure.
Yeah, even though I love this album, it's not in my top 100. Probably never will be with the problems it does have. But this is a great album. If you're a Fleetwood Mac fan, if you're a Fleetwood Mac fan, why haven't you heard this yet? If you're a music fan,
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
You're not really a
If
fan.
let me just say, if you're a Fleetwood Mac fan, you've heard this album. There are no Fleetwood Mac fans who've never heard this album. That's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I love what's it called, Mr. Wonderful. Rumours. What's that? Get out of here,
trippy hip. Get out of here, trippy hippie. What are you doing in there?
I get Scott's criticisms with the album, but I'd still give it a 10 out of 10.
All right. So,
I'm picky with my rankings, which means if I do give something a 10 out of 10, then it's like really, 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 really good.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Adam, for watching this video. This was a blast to make. See you guys in the next Fleetwood Mac video where we cover their 1979 album, Tusk.
Oh, I'm so
Double
looking
album
forward to that. It's
time.
gonna be fun.
Yes.
Man, that's gonna be a fun album to review.
It's gonna be a very
Jason's never heard.
discussion.
Oh,
so I'll be listening to that for the first time.
well, I think you're gonna have some very mixed feelings on the album.
You're gonna like the
I know
Christine
I
McVie
will.
You're gonna like the Christine McVie songs and the Stevie Nicks songs a lot,
Mhm.
but the Lindsey Buckingham songs, Jason, you're gonna hate for the most part.
Yeah, did he experiment more on this one?
Yes.
Yes, this
He
is
was,
when
he was listening to a
Buckingham
ton of
started
Talking Heads at
there.
that time.
Oh, okay.
And he was really liking the Pet Sounds album as well.
Yeah, a
which
lot
is
of the post-punk stuff as well,
which
like
is
Joy
why,
Division.
and I have held off. I have done my best to hold off on talking about this till the end of the video, but which is why I do not get the haters who are like Fleetwood Mac's sellout at this point when Lindsey Buckingham clearly has artistic vision on this next album.
Yep. Well,
And that's all I'm going to say about that because I want to have just good things to say about this video.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So long.